Morning everybody. How are we all this morning? My name is Ali Board. Welcome to Technique Tuesday. At the moment we are broadcasting live on my Facebook page, Ali Board Artist, but you might be watching us on catch up via my YouTube channel or over on my blog. No matter how you are watching me this morning, you are very welcome. Now this is what I've called take two, because I know that some of you last week tuned into my violet and purples demonstration, and we had a few gremlins in the works. I'm glad to say that, fingers crossed, today we've put some new technology in the building, more technology in the building, and I'm very much hoping that this morning's feed is stable, but we will see. I am reliant on the internet. I'm reliant on platforms performing as they should. It's kind of unprecedented times, but we're all learning as we go. Let's just say a few good mornings to those people who have tuned in live. So who have we got with us this morning? Good morning, Sharon. Linda, good morning. Louise, good morning. Tony, good morning. Lou, Gary, sup? Hello, lovely Rachel. Carol, Sally is here. Sandy is in the room. Cheryl's here. Carolyn is here. Good morning, Carolyn. Who else have we got? Anne. Anne is saying, morning, Ali from sunny Bedfordshire with my mum Beryl here too today. Good morning to both of you. So what is Technique Tuesday? Technique Tuesday is basically my way of hopefully helping you out either with a painting technique or materials or all of those things that are involved in what I do. This week, as an extension of last week, we are looking at the violets and purples, and I know that some of you have been really, really loving this theme this week. As you can see from the backdrop, I sort of gravitate towards violet, shall we say. I've really had to refrain from wearing it during this because otherwise you'll get violet overload. But violet is a colour that I love. Now, it's not just because I love the colour. I'm going to show you some other reasons today why I really like it. Now, last week, as you know, we had a thunderstorm here, and there were some real hideous gremlins in the works, and I posted a version of the kind of backup version that I record, and some of you were very lovely, and you sent me some really sweet comments, and I'm so grateful for your support. And I promised that if you commented on the post last week, I would do a giveaway, and I would give away a tube of, in my opinion, one of the greatest violets out there to be manufactured. And this is a tube of Moon Glow. This is the Daniel Smith Watercolour Moon Glow. And I asked my husband to pick a number of all the comments that we had listed last week. And I am pleased to say that Sheila Martin, you are the winner of the tube of Moon Glow. If you would like to get in touch with me, I will stick it in the post to you. And that tube of Moon Glow is yours. Thank you very much to everybody who commented. So what did I do last week? We were talking a little bit about the history of violets. We were talking about some of the older pigments. And if you want to go back and recap over that, then you can. You can either read it on my blog, or you can pop back over to the YouTube channel or onto the Facebook page in the videos tab, and you can just reacquaint yourself with some of the things that we covered. But because I had a few gremlins, I didn't quite get to the end of what it was I was going to talk about. So I'll get to that in a minute. I can see that there's many messages popping up to my left. So let's just see who is in the room. Lots of people in the room this morning. Simone, good morning. Lizzie, good morning. Patricia, good morning. Ali and everybody, all very welcome. Andrea, good morning. Ali D, good morning. Karine, Karen, oh, Linda, you say the nicest things. Jane, Pippa says she's from down the road. She's not wrong. I could throw a stick and probably hit her house. Hilary, good morning. A brand new All Aboard Artist member. You're very welcome. I can see that my mum is in the room too. Good morning, Mum. Wendy Jones, morning from wet Wales. Oh, that's rubbish that it's wet. It's not particularly sunny here, but it is dry. My chickens are out this morning. Jane, you're not late at all. I've been waffling away. So you're not late. I haven't done anything interesting at all yet. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take you to my overhead camera and I'm going to take you through a few things that we talked about last week. So here we go. Here are some of the violet samples that I did. Now, why are they looking like this? Just to quickly recap, I don't think you need my glasses in the shot. This is one of the ways that I like to have a colour chart rather than on one big sheet. Because I tend to find that if I do a great big sheet with all my colours on, then it comes to pass that I'll add a new colour to it and then it doesn't sort of fit in and my sort of OCD organisation kicks in. But this way I have a little ring that I can take apart and put together, and when I get a new colour I can just simply slot it in. Now this is a project that I am working on for my website. I'm very keen that the website has a selection of resources on it that I am hoping are helpful to you. So if you go to the website www.alisonseaboard-fineart.co.uk/resources, or just go to the web page and in the menu you'll see a little button that says resources. You'll see that I've started to add some things. I have scanned in copies of these and popped them in my favourite watercolours little section there. I've also put some royalty-free images for you on there as well that you're very welcome to download and use. And then eventually I'm going to start working my way through my watercolours and painting them, scanning them and popping them onto the website. I will keep adding to that. If there's something that you want to see on the resources page, then please do let me know. I'm very happy to put all sorts of information up there. And hopefully by the end of today, if you pop over there, you will see that I will have scanned today's experiments in, and you can read a little bit more about it on the blog too. Now I can see there's lots of messages popping up. Whose messages are we doing? Oh, Linda is saying hello to my mum. Love that you support your brilliant daughter. And my mum is saying she makes me. Thanks, Mum. Thanks very much. Sharon is also asking, where can I buy the round clips to tie my swatches? Sharon, I know you are waiting for several things to pop up on my website in terms of products. I will make myself a note to try to put these on there too, I promise. So that hopefully will help with all those sorts of things. Right, without further ado, let's take you through some of these colours. So down here, I've got 4 of the violets that I use an awful lot. So we've got quinacridone violet, which is a colour that I use for flower painting, cobalt violet and cobalt violet deep. One is a pinky version and one is, as you can see, a much deeper version. Good morning, Gary. And over here we've got Moonglow, which is a colour that I was talking about at the top of the programme. Now the reason that I've put them out with these pans too is because I wanted to show you how I organise my colours. Good morning, Steph. So I use tubed colour. I squeeze it out into an empty pan, and then I do catalogue the colour on the side. Now you don't have to do this, it's just because I have so many colours and I need to know at any given time what the name of it is, the pigment, and all sorts of bits of information about it. Now that information cross-references to the swatch that I have, so no matter whether I am working straight from my pan or looking at my colour chart, then I have the same information. So those are the 4 that you will see me use all the time. They are certainly the 4 that feature in my book. Let's pop those to one side. Those are incidentally already scanned into the resources page. under the Ali's Favourite Watercolours tab. You can go and see those straight away in better resolution than the video that you're seeing today. These are the three that I painted for you last week. Let's take you through those three. So we have Purpurite Genuine, that's a Daniel Smith colour. It's what's called a Primatech colour, and that means that it is as close to the natural pigment as is possible. Daniel Smith try not to interfere with the natural pigment. So it has no pigment number, simply because it is as it comes out of the ground. It's kind of not manufactured or refined or had anything else done to it. So that's the Purpurite. Then this is Lunar Violet. I think this is a stunning colour. Now this is a little bit of a cheat colour. It's a little bit like Moon Glow in the fact that it is actually a combination of two pigments together. So it's a violet pigment and it's a black pigment, and that black pigment, that PBK11, is what's known as a Mars black pigment, and it granulates. And if I bring it up to the camera really slowly to give it time to focus, there you can see just quite how beautiful that pigment is. Really useful for shadows, particularly on animal portraits. I use it an awful lot because it gives texture as well as giving that kind of lovely subtle violet. So that was the Lunar Violet. And then the last one that I shared with you last week was the Ultramarine Violet, a very bright violet, what I would describe as a bluebell violet. Really useful for bluebell woods and the like, lovely and fresh and clean, and it's transparent, it granulates. This is the Daniel Smith one, but Ultramarine Violet does occur in lots of brands. Just check for that pigment number, which is PV15. So we'll put that to the side, and let's bring in some of the violets that I'm going to talk about today. So we've got 4 to share with you today, and my OCD is already kicking in. Yes, Linda is saying it's called a reticulating colour, Lunar Black. Very good, Linda, top marks. You'll also notice on some of the posts that have gone on our social media this week, people sharing the history of certain pigments. You've really enjoyed this subject, I think, so I may do more. I know that there was a big call for me doing greens, which is on my to-do list for the future. So here are the 4 colours that we're going to work on today. Now, I am working from right to left simply because I don't want to be dragging my pot of water across. I'm going to paint one and then get rid of it, just in case you wonder why it's all back to front. So this one here is Pyroline Violet, a really kind of deep, rich colour. That's PV29. Here we've got Winsor Violet, obviously particular to Winsor & Newton colours. We've got quinacridone purple, that's another Daniel Smith one, and we've got wisteria. Now wisteria I've kind of put into the mix today because it's an interesting colour, because it's actually got a white pigment in it too, which makes it very opaque. So if you've been following some of my demonstrations recently, you will know how much I like working on black watercolour paper. And so because this has got a white pigment in it, that actually means that it's going to show up on a dark surface too. So that's an interesting one to consider. So let me just move these little bits of paper away ever so slightly, because what I'm going to do is spray my samples out there so that they're nice and wet and ready to go by the time I paint it in. What I haven't done is given myself any extra kitchen roll. That's all right, I'll use this stuff from here. So today I'm using a size 6 brush, just because it's quite a small area that I'm painting in. You could make larger colour samples if you wanted to. As you can imagine, I've got an awful lot of colours to work through. I don't want them to be too big. Someone is just asking a question before I start. Hi Ali, could you tell me how a watercolour granulated? Is it like putting salt on? No, it's not, Gloria, but thank you very much for the question. Granulating watercolours are peculiar to the pigment. It's to do with how they separate out. Some of them are just physically heavier, or they flocculate, which means that they all gather together And watercolour paper obviously shows that off because you've got all those lovely peaks and troughs. Some colours just do granulate, it's just a thing that they do, and some colours don't. It also has a lot to do with how big or small the pigment particles are. You can make non-granulating colours have a texture by adding salt. That's a really good suggestion. But if it's a granulating pigment, it does just that. So let's start with the Pyroline Violet. This actually is not a colour that I would call violet. And if you want to know about why I call particular colours violet and why I call particular colours purple, then you can go back to last week's demonstration and watch that. This is actually a colour that I would call purple because it has a real red bias. So you can see straight away, this is a colour that kind of is almost more like maroon to me than it is to violet. But in the English language, we have way too many colours way too many words to describe all of the colours that we have and can see. So there are some cultures that don't actually have necessarily a word for brown. Brown is just an extension of red. So in that description of violet and purple, we actually do have to be pretty careful because it is down to semantics too. Gloria, it's my absolute pleasure to answer your question. So there's that Pyroline Violet. Let's get it up to the camera so you can see it. So it is a real maroony kind of colour, lovely and rich. Very useful for flower painting, you flower painters out there. I'm going to pop that one to one side to dry, wash out my brush. Let's move on to the Windsor Violet. Let's get that one in. Coat my brush. You probably noticed that I roll my brush into the colour rather than necessarily wiping it. I do that so all of the bristles are coated. And I have just noticed, even though I haven't got my glasses on, look at that, Jack Russell hair. They get everywhere. I am actually going to put my glasses on. Jane asks the question, does granulation fluid make a non-granulating colour granulate? Too many granulates. I know exactly what you mean, Jane. Jane, this is a quite contentious statement that I'm about to make, so my apologies, and I'm going to caveat it with the fact that this is only my opinion. Granulation fluid, in my experiments, doesn't make non-granulating colours granulate. I know it's supposed to, but in my experience, and admittedly I haven't done huge amounts of experimenting with it, somebody may be able to tell me to the contrary, and please do prove me wrong. But in my experience, granulating medium actually only separates things like acrylic ink or Indian ink or any of those kind of things. But I tell you what, that is only my opinion. You do your experiments and see if you can get it to work otherwise. So here is my ultramarine violet. Can you believe I got another Jack Russell hair in it? Honestly. So Windsor Violet. This is a delicious colour, and you will see very quickly why it features. Have my Jack Russells been sitting on my desk overnight? Goodness me. You'll see straight away why I love this colour so much. Let's add a little bit of water to that to bring it down. I've got something floating in it. Honestly, who do live broadcasts? Let's pull that colour down a little bit further. And a little bit further. Now look at that colour. Isn't that beautiful? Isn't that stunning colour? What's not to like about that? I'll finish off this little square and then I'll hold it up for the camera and you can see it. There we go. Isn't that stunning? Goodness me, that's just a little thing of joy. Jane saying, thanks, Ali, I will experiment. You're very, very welcome. Cheryl saying, this theory on the pigments, etc. is very interesting. My knowledge of all this was zero before. You're very welcome, Cheryl. I'm glad it's of interest. It's my little pet subject, really. I find it fascinating. And there's lots of books and websites out there that you can follow to learn much more than I know. It's a vast subject. I know a tiny microcosm of it. So there's the Windsor Violet. Let's wash the brush out. And let's get to the quinacridone purple. Now, let me just bring back in Where have I put it? Where have I put it? So this is the Pyroline Violet that I demonstrated just a minute ago, which I think is a purple because it's very close to maroon. And this one is called quinacridone Purple, and I actually think it's more violet. But like I said, such is the language of colour. So this one I think is really lovely because it sort of sits halfway between that red bias and the blue bias. This is a Daniel Smith one. These colours are available in other brands as well, but many of you know out there that I am a fan of Daniel Smith. I think the colours are superior, but I understand as well that they are not to everybody's financial situation. So buy the colours that you like. That's always my advice. Buy the colours that you can afford. There's that quinacridone Purple. It's interesting, isn't it? Because it almost looks like a sort of shot colour. Isn't that lovely? Just a bit different. That's PV55 for you pigment nerds out there. Sorry to call you pigment nerds, but you're in the same class as me. And then this is the Wisteria. So this is the interesting one. So before I do that, Janet. Good morning, Janet. Is there a particular aspect of watercolour papers to look for to allow the pigments to act their best in colour, granulating, etc.? Brilliant question. Well done. Sorry, I'm going to deviate as well because my dad has just logged in. Morning, Dad. Dad doesn't do Facebook very often, and he is saying good morning button. Thanks, Dad. Janet, to answer your question, yes, I would suggest that if you're going to upgrade anything in your watercolour kit, I would upgrade your paper, because a paper that has a high cotton content and has either a knot surface or a rough surface is actually going to do a much better job of showing up the granulation. But I also must point out that there are artists out there that don't like the granulation, that actually they prefer a smooth flat colour. They're usually botanical painters and the like. As you can see, I really like the granulating part of it. I just think it's a nice easy way to get texture into your paintings without you having to try too hard. So here is the Wisteria, which has also got dog hair in it, honestly. I think I wet my colours last night, left the studio, and then the dogs were in here at some point. But anywho, here we go. So look how opaque that is. A really flat colour, but don't forget this is on white watercolour paper. Imagine what it looked like if you did this whole selection all over again on black watercolour paper. There's a little challenge for me to add to the resources on my website. Believe me, I have lots of plans. They just get scuppered sometimes by time, which is not always my friend. And so I'm pulling this colour out, blending it out down to the bottom, and there we go. You can see that kind of lovely rich flat, and definitely they described it really well, didn't they, in the fact that it's Wisteria, that lovely kind of pale tone. I do like painting Wisteria, and funnily enough, a couple of my Wisteria paintings that you may have seen before actually obviously feature this colour, because what better way to paint Wisteria than a colour that is meant for the subject. So there's the last one. Let me bring the ones that I have painted back into shot so that you can see them all together, and then I'll take you through some of the paintings where I use violet. Let's just say, Janet, you're very welcome. And this one is similar to SAA Cobalt Violet Hue. Yes, it is. In fact, let me get my Cobalt Violet. I know this is the Daniel Smith Cobalt Violet and not the SAA one. The SAA one is actually closer to this, and I need to include the SAA colours. Also in my swatches, I will put that on the to-do list too. But yes, they're kind of pink biased, aren't they? This Cobalt Violet, as you will find in the SAA one as well, granulates, whereas the Wisteria doesn't. So that's one of the combinations. So there we've got the Pyroline Violet, the Windsor Violet, the Quinacridone Purple, and the Wisteria. Marion is saying, I didn't know you could get black watercolour paper. Can you suggest any, please? Yes, absolutely. I would suggest either the Van Gogh one or the Clairefontaine. And Marion, if you want some more information about those, you're an SAA member, you can pop over to the SAA website and have a look at them. You will also see a couple of weeks ago, I did a dragonfly demonstration on black watercolour paper. So if you are a member, you can log in and watch that. And as a beautiful segue, I see that the lovely Gary Templeman is in the room. Gary is the fantastic editor for SAA, and he has very kindly popped a link on there for my live stream tomorrow. So tomorrow I am demonstrating a sunflower in pastel. I'm using pan pastels and pastel pencils. So there's the link for it. Keep an eye out for it on my social media too. I will tell you more about that at the end. And lovely people are saying thanks, Gary. See, Gary, you have fans too, look. Right, I'm going to put those to one side because the next thing I want to show you is some of the instances where I use violet in my work. So let's just pop these into shot. They're not all going to fit in the shot, but I just wanted to take you through a few reasons why I use violet so much. It is a signature colour for me, but one of the reasons I use it to great extent is because to me, it provides a great deal of atmosphere in the pictures. Now, this is a little sketch I did of a holiday cottage where myself, my husband and my parents have stayed on many occasions. And I used the ultramarine violet in the background of that because it's so close in tone to some of the blues and really showed off the turquoises that are in the house and that I've put in the cliffs too. I also like to use it in some of my treescapes, and here you got a little experiment that I did where I was trying to show a bluebell wood. So as well as all sorts of other things that are going on in here, I've got some of the violet going on there too. It's just a nice colour to link background and foreground. Here I've got an instance, and you'll see this a couple of times in some of the projects that I've got to share with you this morning. This is a sketch of one of my Jack Russells. This is Troy. And I've used the Cobalt Violet Deep in the background to give it that kind of lovely misty atmosphere. And it's a much cooler colour than the colours that I've put in Troy. So that's one of the reasons that I've used it on there. And there you can see also a portrait of Carlos, one of the horses that we have here at the farm. And again, I've used it in the backdrop to really kind of make him stand out. What else have we got here? A seahorse, little seahorse study that I did where I was combining bubble wrap in the background, and I've got a couple of other things going on. But here's that moon glow. Here's the reason that moon glow is so fantastic. You can get the deepest, darkest colour out of it, but you can blend it out to get that soft colour too. And here's one of the things that moon glow does, if I can hold it up to the camera, is that you can see that you've got that pale lilac-y colour coming out of the moon glow, but you've got some of the other pigments showing through too. So you've got that kind of greeny blue coming through. It's a really useful colour. And then last but by no means least, you've got my sunflower painting. And again, in order to make these colours look really warm and really fresh and really bright, I've used the Cobalt Violet Deep in the background to push that away and to make those yellows come forward. And of course, a lot of you will know part of your colour theory that yellow and violet are opposite each other on the colour wheel. So they are going to create what is called an optical vibration, which is why the colours work together so well. So I can see that some of you are liking the seahorse. I'm guessing that maybe if I put a seahorse online tutorial together, that might go down well. I didn't mask the seahorse out, Lou. I painted it negatively, so I actually went in and painted around it. And if you can see, I cheated wildly at the end that I got hold of my Posca pen and I extended some of those parts. But that's another tutorial for another day. Let's go back to me take my glasses off so I can see you all much better. Thank you very much for tuning in to Technique Tuesday this morning. I can see that Gary has also given you lots of information about my demonstration tomorrow. So just to recap, if you are an SAA member, you can pop over to the website. Even if you're not an SAA member, pop over to the website. You can buy materials from them anyway. If you would like to become a member of the SAA, I can get you a little incentive as far as membership is concerned. If at the checkout, when you become a member, you put Alison B in capitals, you can see it there, ALISON, capital B, you will get £20 in points to spend next time you order something. That is for new members only, but that's just something that you can use if it's useful to you. So tomorrow I will be doing my sunflower in pastel. If you want a sneaky peek of it, let's just give you a very sneaky peek of what I will be doing. There it is. So there's pan pastels and pastel pencils on the background on pastel matte paper. My camera's gone a bit squiffy in the meantime. Let's straighten that up. I can't bear things where they're not straightened up. Watch out my social media or click on the link tomorrow. That is going live at 11 o'clock. And then some other things that I am doing this week. Now, this year was supposed to be the first year that I was going to get the opportunity to demonstrate at Patchings. So Patchings is a big arts festival up in Nottinghamshire. And I was so excited to be part of it because it was going to be my first year. It's been top of my demonstration bucket list for so long. And Search Press had invited me to be part of their marquee. And obviously, sadly, that isn't going to go ahead. However, Search Press have put together an entire weekend full of demonstrations and book deals and discounts and some retro downloads and all sorts of things. And I'm very proud that they've asked me to take part. And I have 2 demonstrations going live. They don't cost you any money. You can log into the Facebook page for free and you can watch both of those demonstrations. Now, the one that I'm doing on Friday at, I have to just check, at 1 o'clock is of some pebbles, and that is not live, that is pre-recorded, but I will be hanging around in the room to chat with you. If you fancy asking me any questions about that, I will be watching it live at the same time that you do, so you're very welcome to pop up to that. And then on Sunday, I will be live. I will be doing a Tawny Owl demonstration. That is live at 11, but there is so much going on over the weekend. You've got lots of demonstrators, both craft and fine art. And if the weather turns out to be a bit rubbish at the weekend, you will not need to go anywhere because all of your arts and crafts desires are going to be catered for. So let's just see if there's anything else I need to answer before we go. Lots of requests for the seahorse tutorial. Janet is saying she put the code in for SAA. That's very kind of you. Thank you, Janet, because it obviously does help. Barbara's saying thank you. Linda, I will help you with that. Thank you for your lovely comments about my work. That's very kind of you to say. I can see that people are looking forward to a pastel demonstration before. Lou is asking, can I use scrapings from watercolour pencils to get the same effect as Brusho in your Tawny Owl demo? I'm sure you can, Lou. If you log in, I will try to answer your questions about the Tawny Owl during the Tawny Owl demonstration, if that's okay with you. Thank you very much for joining me this morning. Technique Tuesday will continue to come to you live or via catch-up, either on Facebook, YouTube, or my website at www.alisonseaboard-fineart.co.uk. Thanks very much for tuning in this morning. Anything that you want to see pop up on Technique Tuesday, I can see the requests are coming in. I will try to factor those in. Just let me know, email me, and I will try to work them into a future demonstration. Take care, all of you. Looking forward to seeing you over the weekend, and we'll see you, if not then, I will see you next Tuesday. Take care, everybody. Bye-bye.